What's up, you guys? It's your girl LT here, back with another video. What's up, you guys? It's your girl LT here, back with another video. So today, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl LT, Childfree Black woman, and today I have a very special guest with me, Miss Indigo Kid. She reached out to me saying, "Hey girl, I'm a Childfree Black woman. I want to go ahead and share my story." And she reached out to me, and I'm so glad she did. She is such a beautiful, beautiful spirit. Just connecting with her has been such a joy. So Indigo, I wanted to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you for the introduction, LT. Like I said, it's a pleasure to be here. So my name is Indigo, and I'm actually in Canada, Ontario. It's a province, so kind of like how you guys say counties in US. So I'm 28 years old, and I'm child-free. I'm in the food and hospitality industry, and it's been a very exciting couple of years, but I've noticed that over the years, there's been a lot more comments and sometimes very invasive questioning. So I just felt like the need to share and also connect with other people as well.
All right, awesome, awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for reaching out to me. So we'll go ahead and get on with the questions. So the first question is to just as a child-free Black woman right now, how has life been for you? Just in general, with everything going on in your life right now, how has being a child-free Black woman really been beneficial for you?
Okay, so the benefits, I definitely have to say there are a lot. In terms of, I got to experience a lot of hobbies. I still get to experience a lot of hobbies. And even just seeing the way the world is, and I'm not too sure if people are familiar, but Black women are very misrepresented in the healthcare sector. So that's another thing that has given me a lot of insight as well, because that is somewhat of an experience I got to see with women where they share their stories, or even if it's just volunteering and assisting someone and seeing essentially what they're going through. So that was something that I was always aware of, where it was like, I don't want to be in a vulnerable situation where I can't have people speak up for me, or I can't speak up for myself. But overall, I have to say it's been good, but there have been some instances where people make assumptions. Sometimes it's not even safe to say that you're child free, depending on the environment. But for the most part, I say that I have like a generally good experience.
That's awesome, awesome. What are your earliest recollections of either wanting kids or even not wanting kids? Because I'm coming across people saying that maybe they didn't have the best childhood, or maybe something kind of traumatic happened to them in the past. So like, okay, well, I definitely don't want to bring a kid into this world because of that. So did you have any recollection growing up that you didn't want any children, that you did maybe want children, but you changed your mind?
I would say from childhood, I kind of always knew that I I didn't want to say that I knew I was going to be child free. It was more so like I didn't have the same enthusiasm or the same conversations that other women would have when they talked about, becoming a mother, or they couldn't wait to name their kids. I was kind of always just like, okay, well, if that's what you're doing, I want to be doing the opposite. So for me, I just kind of would try to blend in with the crowd, because of course, there's peer pressure, and if you're growing up in an environment where pretty much everyone has kids, it's kind of like you're already an outcast by saying you don't want them. So it's like sometimes to avoid arguments or to avoid disagreements or anything like that, it's just, yeah, I can't wait. But I would have to say I was always aware that I don't look at parenthood or motherhood in the way that other women do. And I think it was just seeing women firsthand deal with the experiences of being a single mom, or even just seeing the way people interact with them. That was when I was like, okay, you know what? I'm done. But it wasn't until my early 20s where then I said, okay, you know what? No, I'm just child free. Like, I've made up my mind now.
Definitely. I think a lot of people, like society and people in general, or just partners, think that women have this, calling for or yearning to produce and have children. So was your biological clock always silenced for you, or is just that, it's like, okay, I don't have any kind of urge at all to have a child?
Oh gosh. What's this new there's this new term going around where it's like, I think my biological clock is broken because it's not ticking.
Yeah.
I could say that, like, where I've always kind of just, don't get me wrong, and this is just also to let people know, I'm not saying here that I hate kids or that child-free people hate kids. What we're saying is just our lifestyle is different from those that choose to be parents.
Mhm.
And I think for the most part, I've just always said, well, there are other things that I could be doing, and I'm just not interested in talking about kids 24/7 or having to essentially put myself last. And as you said, and I completely agree with you, I'm too selfish in the sense that I'd like to do things on my own time at my own pace. And if that means having to do something over and over again, I'll continue to do that, but not being obligated to, I can't do this because I'm a mother or because I'm pregnant or something like that. But I'd have to say the biological clock, I guess it's broken.
And what has been your experience as far as any positive or negative experience around your family, friends, or colleagues? So when you tell your family or friends that you don't want to have children, what has been their reactions?
There's a lot of mixed reactions. Interestingly enough, more women are encouraging me to not have kids, whereas men are the ones that are just like, no, you need to have kids, like your duty is not fulfilled as a woman if you don't. And a lot of just misogynistic, chauvinistic, just very sexist comments. But I've noticed even in the last 5 years, a lot of women in my immediate circle have just been like, there are other options. You can get a pet. You don't have to go that route exactly. And a few of them are actually mothers as well. So I think that's great. That more women are actually saying like, hey, you don't have to do this. There are other ways to live your life.
Oh yeah,
So yeah.
absolutely. I just had a coworker the other day. We're just
Mhm.
chit-chatting in our company that I work for, and we're in the break room, and she was telling me that I think she has like 3 or 4 kids, and she said
Ooh,
straight up that if I could do it all over again, I would not have never had children. So, but I'm glad that there
wow.
are people, yeah, coming out that they are admitting that, you know what, because kids are not how they used to be, like how I was
They're
growing up.
not.
I was born in the 80s, so I'm in my 30s now. So I grew up, 80s baby, 90s kid. So
Mhm.
even my upbringing growing up was definitely different because I'm seeing how a lot of these kids are growing up now today. And I'm like, I ain't bringing the kid into this mess. um,
It's true.
it is. It's really, really hard, especially in this day and age right now. So did your parents
Absolutely.
ever drop hints about you wanting kids or even getting married to you? Have they ever dropped hints for you?
Yeah, it's funny. I remember my dad always saying that he wanted me to have kids, still wants me to have kids.
Mhm.
Doesn't really accept that I'm just like, no, child free. I don't think that registers to him, but yeah, he's just always been adamant, like, have kids. Like, I can't wait for you to have kids and stuff like that. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, that's not happening.
Mhm.
My mom was kind of mixed reviews, but as I got older, she actually started to agree with me a little bit more and kind of accept it, where I don't want to say like she was excited, but she kind of just, oh, okay, like, I never thought about that before, but now that's something to consider. Like, as you're saying, the way kids grow up now is completely different. Like, I'm was born in the 90s, but even still, like, that last little bit of playing outside, like climbing the fences, things like that, kids don't really do that anymore. It's more
Mhm.
so like tablet, laptop, or iPhone or something.
Mhm.
So yeah, but again, I have to say, coming from the woman was just like, you have other options. So don't let this think that this is your only way.
Okay. Have you ever thought about getting any procedure done? I'm not sure if you currently had anything, but if you've ever thought about getting procedure done to make sure that you permanently do not have any children?
I have thought about it, and I've also unfortunately heard more horror stories than positive stories pertaining to women trying to get any procedures done, which again is, it's just unnecessary. But I have decided, like, maybe further down the line I will, because I know that my age is also a factor as well. But as for right now, I was like, I don't even want to get involved with all of the issues or the backlash. So I'm
Okay.
just kind of like, it's on the back burner.
Okay. Now, also, can you share your experiences with being child-free and dating? So let's talk about dating. So if you, I don't know if you're currently with someone or not, but if you are single, can you share about your experiences with dating and child-free?
Okay, my experiences have not been great.
I don't think anybody has, man. It's scary in the streets.
I agree with you. It's scary. I even have to admit, I'm actually like taking a break because it's awful. And I get that, we're adults. People are gonna lie. I'm not saying like we live in a perfect world, but I'm just saying I found that a lot of single dads like to lie, exaggerate. They're not really, they don't give you the option to make a decision for yourself. They kind of just try to make that for you and then force a bunch of kids on you or force like a situation onto you, which I really didn't like. Another thing is just people are entitled to their opinions. I felt as though there were situations where it was like you have one good interaction with one of their kids, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, let's do this all together. Or, my kid really likes you. Like, how about every Friday? And I'm just like, whoa, like, no, 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 this is not my job. Like, I'm not interested in this. Or something that's supposed to be a date turns into, oh, well, I couldn't find a babysitter, so can we do this? And I'm just like, no, we can't do this.
Oh yeah.
No, it hasn't been good, unfortunately. So I just said, let me take a break. Yeah, lying about number of kids, um, lying about kids that, I don't know, it was a situation where someone's niece and nephew magically turned into their daughter and their son. So I was just like, okay, were those always your kids? Or like you just thought, okay, let me see if she likes kids and then I'll switch it up on her. But yeah, it hasn't been good.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I've been struggling with dating as well, and it's kind of hard to meet a child-free person. I think honestly, the city that I'm in right now in Florida, I think is
Yeah.
very kid-friendly. I think it's kind
Oh
of hard
wow.
right now. So, but yeah. So, are you open to like if you're open to maybe dating somebody with children? Let's say if they were like if it was an older man, but he had kids that were over the age of 18. Are you open to dating somebody with older kids?
Mm. See, in the ideal world, I would say yes.
I mean, of course, I
But
know
in this,
child freeze first, but if you couldn't find
right.
nobody like in the next 10 years or so.
No, I would say in an ideal world, it would work. In this
Mhm.
world, no. Because it's like, okay, but it's like, I think, and this is not to attack, but I think this is something that single fathers or parents in general just need to understand that what you may qualify as being independent for your child might not be the same for someone else. So,
Mhm.
for instance, if you have an adult child, they might live independently from you, but if they're calling you every 6 months for money or every 6 months they're moving back into the house because they're not stable, now
Mhm.
that's not really having an adult child. Now, who wants to really deal with that? Or let's
Mhm.
say now they're not responsible, or you have like some type of plan with them where you watch their kids, they give you the money, and then they get to go out and live their pretend child-free lifestyle. Who wants to deal with that? So these are
Mhm.
things where it's like, where I'm not outright rejecting you, but it's like I'm looking at these factors because a lot of the times people overlook these things. And it's like, if I'm setting up my life in a certain lifestyle, I'm expecting someone to say, hey, like, I respect the fact that she's doing this. I don't want this to interfere with that. And I've just found that single parents, single dads, they don't really understand that barrier of, these are your kids. This is not my time to take on your responsibility too. So that's why I say in an ideal world, it would sound great, but considering the cost of living, considering the way things are going right now, I think it would just be like, I'm okay saying, you know what, I'll stay single then.
Okay, great point.
Mhm.
Society kind of has rules and maybe have an agenda right now where about certain topics and issues. So, what are your thoughts about how child-free African American women are portrayed in society? If you have any thoughts on that.
Mhm. Um, I might sound like I'm being very persnickety, but I don't really think there are a lot of good representations of child-free Black women. or child-free African American women, I think there's this stigma that she's lonely and she's just never fulfilled her own value as a woman. And even if some advertisements, like I've been reading up a lot where it's like if you're signing up your profile as a woman, you get a lot of ads that talk about, like birth control, or you get a lot of parenting ads or pictures or promotions. But sometimes I look at those ads and I see like it's an African American woman and she's pregnant but there's no ring on her finger. And I'm just like, okay, so but there's like a smile on her face and she's doing something productive, but I'm just like, okay, but where's the positivity around that as well? Like where's her ring? That type of thing too. So I think there's more, but there's always this image of she's still lacking and she's not fulfilled.
Do you think that? Okay, I'm sorry. Do you find that more men or women do you find that they're more selective nowadays when it comes to deciding on who will be the father of their children, a father or mother of their children? Because honestly, to me, I really don't think people are selective nowadays. I think yeah, they're not.
Okay, great. I agree. I was just like, okay, how do I say this nicely? But
yeah,
it's not like I'm going based off of my biases, my personal experiences, the things I've heard where it's like, yeah, it was a one night stand, and I'm just like, okay, but a whole human was created out of this one night stand. Like, are you on good terms? Like, what's the situation? Or I've heard someone tell me they're not sure about the number. And I said, how are you not sure? Like, isn't that something that bothers you? Or, like, what if these kids go to the same school? Like, these types of things are real. And I just don't think people are being cautious. I think people are just using their whole biological factor as a means of saying I'm being irresponsible.
Well, yeah, definitely good point. And do you think that the experiences with child-free Black women are different than other cultures like child-free Latinas and child-free Asian women? Do you think that child-free Black women have different experiences in other cultures?
Oh yes, we do. I'm not apologizing for this at all, but I've been in very awkward situations where women of other ethnicities just automatically assumed that I was a baby mother. I remember even a coworker, the way she spoke, she just continuously assumed like, oh, like because us single moms, like we have to stick together and, they don't understand. And the look on her face when I told her, like, I'm not a parent, it was just, I swear, like life left her body because she just kept thinking like, how could you not be a mother? Like, how could you not have any kids? And I'm just thinking to myself, well, I understand that that was the life that you chose, but not everyone lives like that. There are people in our age group that don't have kids. I'm just sorry that you never got to meet anyone.
Definitely. Yeah, I find it funny, especially as a Black woman, that when people, other people, races of people ask us, they never say, like, do we have children? They just automatically assume, how many children do you have? And I'm like, like you don't even know me like that's really ask that question to really assume that I have children. So, so I just find it funny that other people may ask those type of questions and not actually ask us, hey, do you have kids? So
yeah, that's true. I noticed that too.
Yeah. So women normally have a certain window to produce a child. So have you ever thought about, if you change your mind in the future, would you ever consider adoption or anything for you in the future?
No, I remember in my younger years, I did think about adoption, but I just said that's not going to negate being a parent for a lifetime. I think that's what, and that's just how I look at it. I mean, if it seems as if I'm being like super logical, but the reality of it is you're a parent for a lifetime, and that's just something that I know I'm not interested in doing that for a lifetime because there are so many factors that come into it as well. And it's a lot of work. I mean, there's a reason why, single mothers are the ones that are taking the brunt of the work because they're the ones that, whether they're doing something right or wrong, they're still getting blamed. Whether you're married, divorced, or whether everything was planned or sorted out, it's the woman that gets footed with the bill. And I think that's just something that speaks volumes about society and religion and people as a whole, where this is supposed to be a rewarding experience. It's supposed to be a beautiful experience. And although it is, women are still being blamed for everything that goes wrong with the child. And that's something that I'm just not interested in having to deal with, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree.
Okay.
Which Childfree stereotype do you not fit in? Because I'm coming across some people say that either they're saying that people think that they're selfish for not having kids, or maybe that you have that you may have a pet because you don't have a child and you may not have a
Mhm.
pet. So is there any stereotypes that you feel that you don't fit in?
I say the stereotype of, oh, like all child-free people hate kids. I think that's very, very untrue, especially considering the fact that I volunteer with children. I still interact with children in my daily life. I think it's just interesting that there's this assumption that because we don't have kids, we don't like kids.
Mhm. Okay. And how have you also experienced any kind of job discrimination being child free? Like people automatically think that because you're child free, maybe you have this extra time that you can either come into work early or you can stay late, or you have this expectation to kind of work a little more harder because other people may have kids, so they can automatically have the free time that they can leave early or come in late because of their kids. So have you ever had experienced any situations that being child free at your job was a little discriminated against?
Yes, I have several experiences where I remember with one particular employer, they switched my schedule with a woman that just had a baby because the woman, there was some issue between herself and her spouse. Her spouse didn't want her working the later shift.
Mhm.
So they switched my shift with her because they just figured, okay, well, she doesn't have any kids. Like you know, she
Mhm.
doesn't mind doing the later time. And I just remember thinking there was no conversation about that. I mean, I wouldn't have had an issue with it, but it's just the assumption of, okay, well, you can do it without any conversation. Um, so I think that was the first time I realized, okay, this is something where people actually think my time isn't valuable because I'm child free.
I know, I
So
hate
yeah.
that. Oh my gosh, I can't stand it, especially when people automatically think that, let's say if you had some vacation time scheduled and people wanted to change your schedule with them
Mhm.
because you have vacation time. I'm like, no, I'm going to take my vacation that
Of
I've earned
course,
throughout the year. They don't ever ask me to switch nothing.
right. We have
Oh
our plans
gosh,
too.
yeah. Um, I guess some people may think that because you don't have kids by a certain age, that something may be wrong with you, or maybe want to question your sexuality or anything like that. So, how do you respond to people who may question you not having children right now?
Oh, hmm. I mean, I have had those instances, but I guess because I'm kind of a smart mouth, where I just say, well, something could still be wrong with me and I could still be a parent, but you're overlooking that because I fit the norm of being a parent or what you're used to. A lot of the times I say to people, I love myself too much to bring a child into this world to suffer.
Mhm.
So it just means, I mean, I just kind of feed into it with my sense of humor and I say, of course, there's something wrong with me. It's just I don't have a kid to blame it on, or I don't have a kid to overlook whatever is wrong with me because I'm doing my best to deal with that.
Definitely, definitely. That's a great answer. Um, there's a lot of
Thanks.
conversation about leaving a legacy nowadays. I think a lot of men probably get this more than women that
Mhm.
I've seen personally, about leaving a legacy when you pass on and stuff like that. So how do you respond to that about what would you think, what would your legacy be like once you pass on and stuff like that? What kind of legacy do you want to leave here?
Mm, Well, I've already stated that I am leaving my legacy, and my legacy is already in existence. I mean, as someone who's written a lot of material based on whatever organizations and or affiliations that I was with, I can still type in my name and find some of my material. I make my legacy by leading as an example. So working with children and passing on as much information as I can and just ensuring that not being perfect, but being realistic and not being apologetic about that. So that's how I see my legacy, in the sense of my legacy is anything that I do and say and how I choose to lead my life. That's how I see it.
Okay, okay. And last question, what advice would you give a woman or a man who is maybe on the fence about having children, but they may be getting pressure from society or family, etc.? Is there any advice that you would give to somebody who may be on the fence?
Sure. I would tell them, spend as much time as you can with kids, and kids of diverse backgrounds. Don't be afraid to limit yourself to certain age limits, because I know that's another thing too. Some people have like those toddler fetishes or baby fetishes. Spend time with different children, children that may have different types of emotional, physical, or psychological impairments or anything like that. And just interact with them as much as you can. And think of any type of instance where you may want to do something and then something else comes up. Think about how much of that time you'll have to give up if you have children and or a child. So think of those things.
Yeah, I think a lot of people nowadays, they just automatically rush into parenthood thinking it's just, all sunshine and rainbows. And they see what's on social media, and people don't realize people are showing you the good times and the highlights of that child. They're not showing you that that kid woke them up at 2 o'clock in the morning because they were hungry, or they woke them up because the kid was running a fever and they had to go to an emergency room. So they're not showing y'all all that. So, I think, yeah, so I think people need to really, what I did was I just wrote down a sheet of paper and I took my time, and because there was a point in my early 30s that I was like, you know what, maybe I might consider having a child. But once I sat myself down and really wrote down the type of life that I wanted, and I did a list, I did the pros and cons of having children, and I saw a lot of more cons than I did pros. So yeah, so it's like, you know what, if I really know myself well enough to know that, parenthood probably is not the avenue I need to go down. And once I realized that, I was like, okay, well, maybe being a child-free lifestyle was better. And I really didn't think child-free was even a thing. So until I saw a couple of YouTube videos about people saying that they didn't want to have kids. And I was like, oh, is child-free even a lifestyle? I didn't even think it was even a lifestyle, really. So, but I really do appreciate, I'm glad that more Black women especially are coming out saying that, because of our past traumas or because whatever we experience down the road, we just don't think that being a parent is for us. And I'm so glad that you as well have reached out to me, saying your child-free story. And I wanted to just let you know, I do appreciate your time so much. So thank you so much for all of your time today. And do you want to go ahead and let everybody know who's watching, if you want to promote anything, and also where they can follow you on social media?
Okay, so I just want to say thank you. I do appreciate you, Elsie, for having me on the show, and it was a pleasure. I'm so grateful that there are also more Black women stepping up and saying, like, child-free is my option and it works best for me. In terms of reaching out to me, if you guys want to reach out to me, you can follow me on YouTube. You can just subscribe. You can follow me through my comments and things like that, as well as Instagram at Indigo Kid 32. And then also through WordPress at purpleava.wordpress.com as well.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you again for your time. And guys, if you want to follow me as well, I'm also on Instagram, ChildfreeBW. And if you want to be featured on my channel for another child-free interview, please do so. Email me at childfreeblackwoman@yahoo.com. So thank you guys once again for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up. I'm going to put Indigo's information as well in the comment section. So please reach out to her as well if you want to. And I will see you guys in the next video. All right, bye guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.